Welcome to Flying Tucker's broadcast. Our program is brought to you by ATC Aviation, the best, most reliable GSSA in the world. Their mission as the leading cargo GSSA in the world is leadership by the experience and expertise of our carefully selected team of top air cargo management specialists. The ATC vision is to expand our organization and grow their GSSA business across the globe by setting the highest standards of excellence in the cargo GSSA business through high quality and transparency in our service delivery. ATC always strives to professionally promote their partner airlines' growth while serving our mutual customers at the highest professional level. More and more leading airlines around the world continue to choose ATC Aviation Services as their preferred GSA/GSSA partner. They know that the satisfaction of their partners, customers, our employees, and our investors is the cornerstone to successful, sustainable, and profitable business growth. ATC One World One Great GSSA.
Global Head Office.
ATC Aviation Services.
Let me start with a question that sounds simple, but isn't. When a public agency says it's protecting history, what do they mean by protecting? Because here I'm talking about a pattern that preservation folks in New York and New Jersey know all too well. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, operator of JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports, recently has been celebrating itself for stewardship, while some of the most important details of landmarked spaces quietly disappear. And this isn't one of those abstract debates where people argue about design trends. This is about a specific building, a specific room, and a specific choice that changes how the place feels the second you walk in. The immediate headline is glowing. Newark Liberty International Airport's 1934 administration building is being promoted as the first carbon-neutral building at EWR. Big press release energy, with officials taking victory laps. At first look, good for them. Making old buildings more energy efficient is a good thing. Nobody, we think in 2026, should be against environmental progress. But the tension here is that carbon neutral can become a kind of spotlight that blinds everyone to what's happening in the shadows. Like, what did the building have to give up to earn that label? And did it have to give anything up at all? To understand our concern, we need to back up for a moment. History tells me that this isn't the first time the Port Authority has talked like a preservation champion, and then, somehow, preservation advocates end up doing damage control. Just last November, there was an announced plan to dramatically alter the landmarked Marine Air Terminal at LaGuardia. And the plan didn't just raise eyebrows, it set off alarms. The kind of alarms that make people start calling journalists and historians and anyone who still remembers what these spaces are supposed to be. And then it got exposed more widely. The New York Times learned about it, in part because Ed Tripp and the Pan Am Historical Group helped bring attention to it. After that public scrutiny hit, the Port Authority walked it back and called the whole thing a mistake. So the question becomes, if it was a mistake, how did it get that far? And if it happened there, why wouldn't it happen again somewhere else? Which brings us back to Newark, and to what many consider Newark Airport's architectural crown jewel, the 1934 Administration Building, an Art Deco masterpiece. A building that doesn't just sit at the airport near the cargo area. It tells the story of the airport, and honestly, the story of American aviation finding its modern shape. This is one of those buildings where the details aren't decoration. The details are the identity. The central point of my concern is the lobby. Specifically, what used to define the lobby's atmosphere. Those fluted milk glass ceiling light fixtures. Not a small accent. Not a minor accessory. They were a major visual signature. Part of what made the space feel soaring and special. Somehow today, in June 2026, the milk glass fixtures are gone. In their place are flat, generic-looking lights. The kind you might expect in a plain commercial renovation where nobody's thinking about a 1930s Art Deco interior. Nobody's thinking about the way light interacts with stone and height and geometry. In my view, that single choice undercuts the lobby's whole sense of grandeur. And that's the part that stings. Because it's not like the building has no one paying attention. This is a famous building. People have fought for it. I have fought for it. My book, a picture opus titled Great Airports Newark 1928 to 1978, was the main driver in having the place recognized by the National Register of Historic Places as a landmark in 1980. The book portrayed the disregard and disuse of the building as it fell from prominence into terrible wreck and ruin. Our book was noted by former Port Authority Aviation Director Bob Aronson, a real hero here, who immediately halted the misuse of the building. Later, that tradition of caring was aided onward by Newark Airport General Managers Vince Bonaventura and First Lady General Manager, the late Sue Bear. Bit of history here. Back in 1978, the building was being used for all sorts of practical airport functions: flight kitchen, post office, weather bureau. Jobs that might be necessary, sure, but not exactly worthy of an Art Deco showpiece. We created a big picture book, 5,000 copies, to highlight what was happening and why it mattered. So the building has already survived one era where it could have been treated like just another piece of infrastructure. What makes this current moment so complicated? When you enter the lobby in June 2026, a lot of the other historic features are still there, and some have been beautifully cared for. The column capitals still have those plaster wing forms, those stylized touches that underscore Art Deco without screaming at you. The terrazzo floor is still dramatic, and it's been restored in a way that honors the original. There's that striking eagle motif with the date 1934, an emblem that anchors the room in its time. Above key entrances, magnesium bird figures still give you that sense of motion, of flight, of the romance of early air travel. There's a glass tower element tied to a huge milestone. In 1935, it housed what's widely recognized as the first air traffic control center in the United States. This is not just trivia either. We are talking national history in spaces like this. The ambience isn't fluff. It's part of the architecture. Those fluted milk glass fixtures weren't just about illumination. They were a crowning feature, a repeating rhythm across the ceiling that helped the lobby feel tall, elegant, cohesive. Remove them, and you don't just change the ceiling. You change the entire emotional experience of entering the building. It's like restoring a classic painting and then deciding to swap out the original frame for something you grabbed off a shelf because it was easier. The argument being made here is that the Port Authority and its in-house architects made a thoughtless change, something that might be acceptable in a regular office renovation, but is unacceptable in a landmark quality Art Deco lobby. And the timing of the celebration is what adds fuel. Because while the Port Authority is promoting this as a public relations win, look, carbon neutral, critics are saying, you're asking for applause while you've simultaneously diminished your most treasured space. Can't help but wonder, as Newark Airport's public image has taken plenty of hits. There seems to be a sense that maybe this glossy announcement is meant to generate good headlines. We think you don't get to score a PR win by quietly downgrading the aesthetic core of a landmarked interior. Also, putting the lights on right can be a call to action. The hope is that this can be reversed, that the decision to remove those signature fixtures isn't the final chapter. The feeling is, this isn't an unavoidable sacrifice for sustainability. It's a fixable blunder. One more point. Landmark status and preservation language can't just be paperwork and press releases. It has to mean fidelity to the features that define a place. Landmark application materials for the administration building. Here are documents filed by others. Made the case that the building should be protected, reinforcing the same core idea preservation advocates have been raising for decades. So the paper trail exists. The historic value has been argued, documented, and recognized. It's not just, we like the old lamps. It's, you removed an essential component of the design language. When you do that, you're not preserving the building, you're editing it. The metaphor that comes to mind is the one critics are basically using, throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Put back the elegant and truly beautiful milk glass lamps that were a distinct and important element of the overall experience of the space. The takeaway is that history doesn't protect itself. Saving our history needs people to notice when adaptive reuse starts turning into quiet erasure. If those fluted milk glass fixtures can return, then that's not nostalgia. That's doing right by a landmark. That's our Flying Talkers broadcast for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our sponsor ATC Aviation. And for your time this time until next time. Geoffrey here saying, keep flying air cargo. And good night, Joe, wherever you are.